showing these kids, just like I show my kids that are clients and in jail, I am a safe person. I see you. You're safe here. You can be okay here.
All right. So, welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. John Lopez, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. It's really exciting to meet you. You are the legal director of YSRP. Would you tell the audience what is YSRP and what you do as the legal director?
Yeah, for sure. YSRP is the Youth Sentencing and Reentry Project, and we're a nonprofit centered in Philadelphia, but we work across Pennsylvania supporting kids that are charged as adults. Currently have statutes on the book that allow for kids as young as 10 years old legally to be charged and prosecuted in the adult system. So YSRP started as just doing that work, and that's the majority of my work, and our programs have expanded and grown as we've grown as an organization.
So, I have to ask, did you always want to be a legal director of a nonprofit organization?
No, I don't know if I ever did. My older sister was very and continues to be very influential to me. She's a social worker. She's a trauma therapist for children. My father was a caseworker, and I grew up seeing how they were trying to help the kids in our community, the kids that I was going to school with, but seeing the limits that they had with their status as social worker and caseworker. So I wanted to figure out how to advocate for people, for kids specifically, but with more privilege and more access. And it seemed like the courts had that type of privilege and access. So I was like, I'm going to figure out how to work with kids as a lawyer. And I only went to law school for that reason. In law school, YSRP was actually my first legal internship, and I was their first legal intern 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, okay, cool. So, John, you are a lawyer. You went to Drexel School of Law in Philadelphia, and you
Correct.
also have a master's in social work. My mother-in-law is a social worker, and then I know a ton of lawyers. But I think it's very fascinating that you decided to combine the two. Is this because of your upbringing and seeing your sister and your dad working as caseworkers and such?
My sister is definitely a huge influence and continues to be. Right out of law school, before YSRP, I was a public defender in Philadelphia. And I really wanted to connect with my clients, and I really wanted to have a relationship. I was much more concerned with who these people are as people in addition to their legal case. And being a public defender, especially in a large city like Philadelphia, is very difficult because of the volume. And because of the systemic oppression, the people that I'm working with are in really, really difficult spots and places in their life. So like there's a lot of urgency. There's a lot of like many things have to be done, and they all have to be done right now. And that doesn't leave so much space for connecting with someone as a person. So with the pandemic in 2020, I decided I wanted to add these social work skills and frameworks and paradigms to like my toolkit. And I went back to school to the University of Pennsylvania and got an MSW with the hopes of trying to figure out how I could use the privilege and access of my law degree and law and bar card with these other skills that people have been developing for hundreds of years in social work.
Yeah. Okay. This is random, but what was the name of the college at Penn?
SB2,
Okay. Yeah.
the School of
Social
Policy and
policy.
Practice. Yeah.
Yeah. My niece just got her PhD in social policy and programming. There, she asked me, she's like, hey, do you want to hood me? And I was like, sure. I didn't know anything about it. And then I get
Oh, that's really
there
cool.
and I was like on stage with all this faculty and I was like, oh, oh, hey. So, yeah, I just went to Philly May 2025 and that was my first time ever going and I went for this. So, I think that's fascinating because I grew up always wanting to advocate. Like I was always like cheering for the underdog, like sticking up for the kid that was being bullied. But I never really thought about law school until I met a lawyer and they were like, you can just have a bigger impact if you have the degree, if you have like all of these things behind you, the people that you'll meet in law school, all of this stuff will help you with your advocacy. And I was like, okay. But then I never practiced. So I love the fact that you were like, let me learn the skills, be a public defender, oh, wait, I actually want to deal with the people, right? I don't want to deal with how they're being moved around the system. I want to get to know the people. How can I actually impact them? Kind of like humanize them, not just be dealing with the urgency of the cases. All right, next docket, next docket, next docket. You're like, wait, I want to get to the heart of the people. So I think that's
Yeah.
fascinating that even after you had your JD, you still went and studied social work.
Yeah, that's like a disease my family has. My sister's getting her PhD right now. We just need to stop going to school. But yeah, that what you're saying is exactly it. I think I had this like righteous indignation as a public defender. Like the judge doesn't care about my client, the DA, the cops, no one cares about my client. They just see them, they see my client as a defendant. And over years, I realized that I wasn't seeing my client as a defendant, but I was seeing them as my client. And that still is not their name. That still centers me in our dynamic, in our relationship. And I realized the same harm that I was so upset that the rest of the system was causing by dehumanizing them, I was also doing it. But I was like, I'm a public defender, so I'm on the right side. And I think I came to realize that like the system is a very harmful and very broken system. And I think all of the actors, even the ones with more privilege within the system, are also being harmed in it and are susceptible to the impact and the effects of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of checking myself because you were like, wait, I'm actually not even going as far as I could go. Right. That was kind of what it sounded like to me. You were like, wait, I could actually go a little bit further because they're more than even just my client. They're still the people. So I'm kind of like, I'm checking myself to be like, do I do that? Do I get deeper? Do I go under the level? So your family, you grew up, everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to learn. You guys are big advocates of higher education. What was it like when you decided you were going to law school? Were people in your family like, that makes sense? Or were they like, are you sure? No.
I wish I could say it was more thoughtful and more intentional. It was not. I have two older sisters. I'm the youngest in my family. I'm the only boy. So I had a lot of privilege and a lot of the world is yours. You can do whatever you want. I went straight through high school, college, law school. I was not prepared to go to college when I went. I was not prepared for law school when I went. I think I started at 21 or 22 with very little life experience. So I was very blessed to get through law school. I was very blessed to have the support system. Law school was one of the most difficult things I've done in my life. It wasn't a time that I particularly enjoyed. I wasn't so connected to people in social justice movements, people with similar values to me. There were some, but I definitely wasn't tapped into that community. So I wish I could say something else, but it was a fumbling through it to get to where my people were.
Yeah. Okay. And that's okay, right? The whole point of this show is like, would you go to law school again? What made you decide to go to law school? And then non traditional careers so that people can see what else they can do once they have their degree. So, John, you told us that your first internship was at YSRP and it was also their first time having an intern. You were a public defender at the time. How did you even find out about YSRP?
Like you said, I went to Drexel, and Drexel is huge on experiential learning. So part of our curriculum was we needed to do these internships, and Drexel had connections with all of the nonprofits in Philadelphia, and YSRP was at the top of my list because it was legal and because they were working with kids. And I was like, I want to work with kids in a way that like I hadn't seen before. I think YSRP is a really impressive and novel model. I did not know that when I was when I was 22 or 23 working with them. So again, that was another thing that was like really lucky universe coming together, and I'm really thankful too because the entire organization was Lauren Fine and Joanna Visser-Adjoin. That was it, just those two people, and they are some of the best teachers I've ever experienced. I continue to learn from them today. It's incredible to be able to carry on the legacy that they have left at YSRP and like come back years later and be the legal director for what they started.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you through Sharif and through working with YSRP, and the audience doesn't know you. That's why I'm trying to like lay out the story. Also, I'm super visual. So where are you originally from?
I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is where I
Okay.
am right now.
Okay. Allentown, Pennsylvania. Hey, I'm going to law school. You're in law school. Oh, I got to have an internship. oh, here's this super grassroots organization, two other people there, right? Sure, I'll intern there. That sounds fine. But you also said you weren't really enjoying law school. Were you kind of hoping, like, please show me something more than what I'm learning in class, please? And then 10 years later, you're the legal director. Like, that's quite a story.
Yeah. I think in law school, there were moments and pockets where I met people that I wanted to be like that were doing things that I wanted to do. And YSRP is like a really shining example of that. Lauren and Joanna were a big part of that. And then they connected me with the juvenile unit at the public defender's office and with JLC and with these other organizations and other people, and really helped deepen my network. From there, I went to be a public defender. I continue to stay connected with YSRP because I love Joanna and Lauren and love the mission and the work. Being a public defender had incredible highs and devastating lows that I'm in my mid and late 20s. It's very difficult for me to navigate. And I actually left the profession of being a lawyer. In 2021, I quit the public defender's office and was like ready to just like leave law behind in that manner, practicing in that manner, and went back to school to get my MSW to figure out how I can use these things together. And after my first semester of my MSW program, I started talking with Lauren and Joanna about restructuring that was going on at YSRP and the possibility of working with them. And it was a really big decision. I initially was not here for it. And then I thought, if there is a place where I could practice law in the way that is aligned with my personal values, if there's a place where I can focus on the relationship and the connection and like treating people and treating kids like kids, if there's a place where what I believe and my experiences and my education, my expertise, that's actually going to make a difference in what we're doing, it's going to be YSRP. If not for YSRP, I would not be a lawyer right now.
Yeah. So I want to take it a little bit further, because if you didn't take the risk on saying, let me try to create something that doesn't exist, right? You could have been like, oh, it's not there. Okay, I'll just go and be a social worker. But I wonder if the back of your mind, you would have still had this advocacy nagging at you, like, wait. So I think it's really cool. And I appreciate you for filling in the gaps there, where you're like, I talked to Joanna, I talked to Lauren, I said, hey, let's see if this thing can work. A little bit scared, a little trepidatious, or yeah, I guess that's how you say it, because we haven't done this before, but let's just see. So I think that's fascinating, because one of the lessons I try to tell in every podcast episode is that your education, your experiences always come with you to your next thing. They always come with you. You never lose any of it, right? And I'm celebrating that because people don't do that very often. So I
Yeah.
hope that any of the young lawyers listening or the law students listening are like, wait, I can do that? Yeah. You can do anything you want. And a lot of times it is easier after you've seen someone else do it. So hopefully you're listening and you're like, wow, John can do it. I bet I could do it.
Yeah. I met really great people along the way that helped me realize that too. I was connected to an organization called the Law and Social Change Jam. And this is a group of lawyers and legal advocates, people connected to the law, that come together once a year in like a retreat type scenario. We're on a farm, we're near a river, we're something like that. And we're really interrogating who we are, why we're doing the work we're doing, how do we want to be doing it, how are we showing up for ourselves, our people, the people that we're working for. And I thought this was going to be a bunch of lawyers, and it was not. But it was a bunch of people that cared for the same things that I did and had spent a lot of time thinking about the same values that I had, but they had decades of experience. And they showed me that there's so many different ways to be in the movement space. There's so many different ways to be involved in the law without having a traditional legal career. And one of the people connected to that actually developed a framework. It's like a social movement framework that lays out different types of roles in social movements that are different from anything I was taught in any school. And it's like a circle, and it lays these out, and then there are descriptions of each one. And I often give this to students or young lawyers or young social workers that are like, I know what kind of work I want to do. Like, I know I want to be helping people. I don't know exactly where my values and my skill set lie. This is a great tool that lets you kind of like do some inner work and reflect and think, oh, I don't love being in the courtroom. My nervous system is not built like that. I really do have the nervous system and have the strengths to be with someone when a terrible thing happens, and they need another person there to hold space for them. And without frameworks like that, I would have no idea that this is a useful tool that people in movement spaces need.
Yeah. You wouldn't have known it was useful. You probably wouldn't have known it was valuable. You would have thought it was just like a soft skill that just, well, I guess I just have it. And it's like, no, it's very beneficial in a different space, right? I think it's funny because I've been out of law school for 10 years, but I didn't even go until I was 28 because I was like, oh, I'm going to work for a while. And I just kept thinking about it, kept being in the back of my head. And then when I worked in a big law firm in the IP section, which was very, kooky, creative lawyers. And I left and now I'm doing this. And I think it's kind of funny because it kind of molded my career where I was like, oh, they're doing these, they're doing that. Oh, what else could I do? What else can I do? And so I think it's really interesting that you were able to see that framework and say, wait, there's more. Wait, I can push it further. Wait, there's more. Because I had to do that work for myself when I left my law firm. And it was very, very hard.
Yeah.
I had a 1-year-old, so it was a little bit easier. I was literally like, do I want to write this brief or do I want to hang out with her? And it was during the pandemic. And I was like, okay, I want to hang out with her. So that
Right.
kind of helped. But the journey was hard. And a lot of my legal friends were like, alignment, inner work, lawyers don't have feelings. What are you talking about? And I was like, but I do though. You know what I mean? And it was like isolating because I had to do it by myself. So I think it's cool that you got connected and you saw a group of people. And even if you had an inkling of it yourself, you're like, no, this is okay. This is acceptable. This is useful. Yeah, I'm going to lean
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think, to come back to like dominant and oppressive cultures and systems, I really think the legal field is set up to make us think that lawyers don't have feelings, and like you're fighters and you advocate and you're litigators. It's incredibly harmful. It's so harmful. And it doesn't have to be like that. I think there is space to be an incredible advocate and also use those same advocacy skills on yourself, because you are also a person that is now involved in the system that's being harmed by the system. Capitalism, white supremacy, patriarchy, that like all the system is just built in that and is dripping with it. And I think this rejection and denial of what we're actually experiencing can cause real pain and real damage to us as people.
It can, absolutely. And I'm really excited for this episode because usually when people think about advocating and they don't want to be only in the courtroom, they think about being a Coach Carter type where you're the mentor for the whole neighborhood, or you go and you become an elementary school teacher, right? How can I get them to make sure they're not doing bad things? And it's bigger than that, right? And I think you're letting us know, yeah, there can be the criminal side. Yes, there's still people, but it's all bigger than that, right? Get people in the places where they can make decisions and make changes, but they also care about the people. Also, you have all the education and knowledge and compassion to say, no, I know this works. I know it's beneficial. For one, I literally have the receipts of all my degrees, but also I've studied this and I've trained it, right? And so, because to be honest, some rooms you're going to enter and people are going to be like, who are you again? Oh, okay, he's a lawyer. Let's listen. So that part is important as well. And so I think it'll be really impactful because there's multiple ways that we can advocate. And I think that's what you're sharing with us today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's funny because I also do the Coach Carter type of advocacy too. But outside of my work with YSRP, I have a nonprofit that I founded with my sister called Toolshed Boxing, where we provide trauma-informed boxing and yoga to kids in the Lehigh Valley in around Allentown. We train in parks around Allentown. We do community events with the city, and we're in schools as an after-school program. It's boxing, and like we take really cool pictures of the boxing and like make reels, and like the kids look like superheroes. And then once they sign up for the program, it's all mindfulness. And it's like, tell me where you feel when you're in your boxer stance. Where do you feel your weight? Are you remembering to take a breath when you throw that punch? Are you remembering to keep your hand by your head when you're in your stance? When the kids are wrapping their hands, we're checking in with them. And the whole thing, very similar to my legal work with YSRP, is based on connection. we happen to be boxing, we happen to be doing yoga. The real transformative thing is the relationship. Showing these kids, just like I show my kids that are clients and in jail, I am a safe person. I see you. You're safe here. You can be okay here. And then they get to feel safer with themselves. I think those types of interactions, like, I think they change a person.
Oh, absolutely. Especially at that young age, because if you are lucky as an adult, you can say, how do I feel doing this? Not just what am I doing? How do I feel doing this? And kids can learn that. Anybody that's alive can learn that, right? We'll ask my daughter, like, okay, so what do you want to eat? I don't know. Put your hand on your belly. What do you feel like eating? Right? Because that's really what you want to eat. I can give you this, but if you really want an apple, go and get the apple, right? And so it is good that you are teaching that. And it is mindfulness. People are going to listen to this. They're going to be like, okay, another woo-woo lawyer. But it's not that. It's that you are existing within your body and you should also know what's going on. Like the two are together. It's not just I'm doing my legal work with my brain. How's your body feel when you're sitting for 6 hours? How's your body feel when you're not drinking water? How's your body feel when you're reading that frustrating case? Maybe you need to go take a walk around the block and come back, right?
I really like how you said, I tell my daughter to put my hand on her belly. My best friend, who is also a mentor to me, that's how he makes decisions when he feels stuck. He has 3 kids, and I saw him teaching his kids to do this, and it's so nice to see that being passed on.
Yeah. All right. This is great. This is absolutely great. So, John, my last question, and I ask every guest that comes on, what would you say to a young lawyer, 5 years practicing or less, or a law student about what they could do with their law degree?
I love this question because I would say you can do anything in the world. Do whatever you want. Checking in with your own intuition, trying to block out expectations of other people that are not you. Have some discernment and think about like who you want to be, how you want to be, what your skill sets are, what you care about and what you value. And then use that degree that you likely paid a lot of money for. You bought some privilege. Go and do whatever you want. Is the advice. I think I see a lot of lawyers that think they're stuck, and I've felt like that too. And I want to like shake them and be like, you're so privileged. You have so much privilege because of this degree. I know you feel stuck. You can move, I promise.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that advice. I remember graduating, and you probably have 10 days to enjoy graduation before you start studying for the bar. And that's just the way it's designed. I had a guest that called it the law school conveyor belt. Because as soon as you start thinking about the LSAT, from there on, it's just what's next, what's next. You never get to be like, I just did this huge thing. Wow, I'm a lawyer. You're like, okay, all right, which bar? Where am I moving? What job? And it's like, chill. So remember that you can do anything with your law degree.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, John Lopez, for visiting me today and speaking on the You Are a Lawyer podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.